Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. This is part 2 of the video titled Why the Attack on Multiculturalism is an Obvious Racist Attack on Peoples and Cultures for the Purpose of Behind-the-Scenes Slavery and Coercion, especially Sexual Coercion. Point number 11. Let's talk about an example here. For example, if American football were taking over the UK, one could argue that they like rugby better. But they shouldn't move to ban American football. How much more important is it when we're talking about racial cultures, culture with a large racial component, and religions? It's, the person that I'm responding to, they made a video, it's like on Talk News or something. And she said that other people can have their cultures as long as it's just a little bit here, a little bit there. And that she wants Western culture to be the dominant culture. That's what's called being a Nazi and being an oppressor. Okay, that was the Klan's argument. And segregation. They said, hey, they can do it, they can, go somewhere else, right? And they can be in the white region a little bit here, a little bit there, as long as they, wait in the back of the store, as long as they use a different drinking fountain, what have you. That's called being a racist bitch. That's called being closed-minded. Conservatives are evil. They look at a corrupt nation with a history of slavery, with racism rampant, where money rots people, where there's churches everywhere that make it clear to you that money rots people. Getting money for the wrong reasons rots your soul, makes you a petty, evil, insincere monster, makes you a hellish dog, a greedy worm, an exploitative rascal, just a horrible twit, a senseless just waste of life. And they say, so what? They want to conserve the evil government's power. They want to conserve the evil corporation's power. They want to cancel culture. They are sick, sick people. Look at the history of rape in this country, sexual harassment, sexual coercion. These are very deranged people who look at a very evil culture. Do they have to be Nazis before you get it? Do they have to be communists in Russia before you get it? Stalinists, what have you? Do they have to be pirates? Where's the line? When can you look at a culture that's corrupt and say to conserve that is to be a sick fuck? Especially if they try to blame, people that they've created for those problems. They want to abuse people until they turn to crime and say, hey, that's the problem. No, the problem is you had an evil system and you abused people until a certain percentage of them turned to crime. What the hell did you think was the problem? You think your evil devil machine isn't the problem? Your evil system machine culture that's sick. It's deranged. It's delusional. When you're in denial to the point where you're delusional to that degree, you are fucking insane. You people need help. You're not just wrong. You people are insane. You need help. And they're throwing people in the psych ward for not agreeing with them. These people are very sick people, very sick. Point number 12. In the case of Sharia law, Muslims who advocate for it fail to meet the burden of proof that it is universally fair. Okay? That's part of why the UK and America shouldn't have Sharia law, because they failed to meet the burden of proof that it's universally fair. Not that if we come up with a system that's better, then we shouldn't have it. It's that they fail to meet the burden of proof. That's all that is. They try to chop it up to, well, it's a foreign culture invading. Okay, universal pinpoint and moral precision is foreign to the West. Hell, Christianity was foreign to Rome. As you people are conservative Christians, is your argument that Rome should have rejected Christianity because it's from a foreign culture? Think. Even the Roman culture itself had Dionysus, who was a key figure in Greek and Roman history, who's said to be a deity that came from outside. I mean, you people are way off the mark here. Way off the mark. Point number 13. One must treat all immigrants that are allowed into the country fairly, and they must have a fair immigration policy. If you don't, it's called being an evil fuck. Open and shut. Point number 14. One should create a region for illegal immigrants where they do not have birthright citizenship in that region. That's better than the plan they have now. So people would say, hey, you expect us just to open our borders and let these cultures take over? We're not going to do that. Okay? They oversimplify. They overgeneralize. They create straw men. They use stupid, immature tactics. And newsflash, just like propaganda, which is basically falsehood, that's a part of their culture. Part of their culture is to oversimplify and overgeneralize and create straw men and cheat you out of your rights. That's like the hallmark of what it means to be a conservative. They're conserving that lie. Never in the history of the West have they ever had a fair government, ever. Show me proof of that. That they've had one. They don't have one. They never had one. That's part of what they're trying to conserve. And part of the reason why is they've never had fair discussions. They've always canceled culture. They've always killed people. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. They executed this person, that person. They've always killed, canceled. Conservative bullshit to this day. Okay. Point number 15. In the richest country, in the world, that this is happening. Okay. Point number 15. In the main part of the country, outside of the region for illegal immigrants, people can breed more if they are that concerned with demographics. If it means so much to you that you're willing to starve people to death all over the world, you're willing to send poor immigrants who have been raped back to their country to be abused more, okay? To terrorize them with ICE, what have you. Why don't you simply breed more? You people have all the money, all the capital, so to speak, so many of you. Why don't you just have more kids? The hell's your problem? Why'd you have to abuse people? Point number 16. They complain about Sharia law and the rape of Western women, etc. Keep in mind that these are the cultures that rose in nations where the Western governments have proxy leaders. Think about blood diamonds in Africa. Think about oil all over the world. They have proxies. They have, corporate partnerships. They have so many ways to manipulate these governments that they literally control the cultures in foreign countries. And some of the cultures they control are criminal cultures, like in Rome, where the Roman governments almost always, if not always, had an agreement with the local bands of thieves and the guilds and the craftsmen. They had an agreement. That's how they govern. Government meaning mind, as in the word mental. And these are Western-styled governments all over the world. Communism comes from Germany, from the West, not even Russia, Germany. Crony capitalism in its Western form. The idea of a Senate. The Romans gave Europe that idea, regardless of where it comes from. It's a Western idea, basically. We have senates, parliament, 3 branches of government, what have you. So they complain about things that they created, and they cite that to say that they want to force people into their corrupt system. It's sick. Point number 17. People that don't want a conservative nation also have rights. Who would have thought that conservatives aren't the only citizens in England, in France, in America? Who would have thought that some people believe that the West's direction should be to change and to move toward moral precision, not to conserve the immoral ways of the past? Who would have thought that they have rights too? And who would have thought that most people on the planet are not conservatives? They're not Western conservatives. So when you couple the people who don't want conservatives to run Western nations with the vast majority of people on the planet who aren't conservative, and you also add that to the fact that they're using evil, underhanded tactics to try to get their way, it is clear that Western conservative culture, and I don't just mean Republicans, where Democrats are conservative, where they're trying to preserve the social order and sexual control and so on and so forth, that they should not rule the world. Developed nations are basically ruling the world right now. And it's disproportionately Western conservative thinking. In a sense, it's just Western conservative thinking. Hell, the ruling party in China, where there's 1.3 billion people, has a Western-themed government. It's communism. It comes from Germany. And they were a place that the British colonized, as is India. The other country that's the most populated country, that's in the top two of the most populated countries in the world. They both have over 1 billion people. And they have Western-styled governments. What don't people get? How greedy can they be? Point number 18. Their culture is not morally precise, and they massacre people for it. And they raise their kids to continue their sick cultural process. If you don't think that a culture that massacres 9 million people a year just from starvation and hunger-related issues alone, just so they can play a stupid image game and say, hey, much better, I like it that way, is sick, then what the fuck do you think is sick? That's like 2 Holocausts every year with starvation. Some of the people who died in the Holocaust were shot in the head, done. These people die of hunger and hunger-related issues. They're sicker. The people doing this are sicker than Adolf Hitler. What the hell don't you people get? At least when we look at it in terms of how much harm they've done. Point number 19 is that these monsters are trying to multiply and oppress more than ever. I know one of my points, I said, hey, if they don't like the demographics, they can breed more. Yeah, breed more people of your race who like the things you like. But don't breed more people who want to oppress everyone else for the elite. That's sick. That's why they're monsters. These monsters are trying to multiply and oppress more than ever. Point number 20. Now again, keep in mind my personal religion. I don't think anyone should reproduce. The world is hopelessly evil. And that's a universal pinpoint and moral precision point. It's important to note that. Point number 20. There are static components to Western nations. Basically static components. Even if 100 million immigrants migrated to America in the next 10 years, there would still be universities. The mainstream language would still be English. The government buildings would still more or less be the same. The historical landmarks, the historical churches, historic churches, what have you. Many of these people who are immigrating to America are Christians and Catholics. Tons and tons of them. You're talking about Hispanics. They are Catholics and Christians disproportionately. Tons of them. They're coming here with Western culture. And it's not enough for you people. That's how unfair you people are. So what to do about immigration is a good question. What to do about cultural relations, it's a good question. That they have turned into a monster's demands. Discussions that are not staged are needed. Discussions that don't come as a result of cancel culture and coercion are what's needed here. They have no viable counterargument for these 2 videos. But they're going to continue to abuse, rape, and murder and coerce, including people from their own families and groups. These are monsters that we're talking about here. And people must organize to stop them. Thank you.